Hello, fellow learners. Welcome to Maths Bridge. I hope you are all doing good. Thanks for joining with us. We shall continue our learning journey in C programming. Guys, keep up your motivation energy levels to learn new things every day. Without further delay, let's get into today's topic. Shall we? Folks, please do visit us at our YouTube channel Maths Bridge. I'm sure I think you are already subscribed to the channel. If you have not, please do subscribe the channel and then support us. Thank you and then happy learning. Here is our today's agenda. Rules for naming variables. So we know that what is meant by variable. Variable is nothing but a container which is used to store the data value. We have a different data types which we can talk about in following sessions. But today our main focus is to understand what are the rules that the C standard is given for us for naming the variables. Okay, this is very important and simple concept. Just follow me. Variable names can contain letters, digits and underscores. We know letters, we know digits, we know underscores. All these combinations can be used for creating a variable name. That's an idea. However, variable names must begin with a letter or underscore. Cannot start with digit. So you cannot start with a digit, but you can still use a digit, maybe somewhere else in middle end, but not the starting. But you can use letter or underscore as a starting letter for the variable name is what is given. Okay, but make sure one more important point, don't begin variable names with underscores. The reason behind is like C library routines often use such a names. That's an idea. So now we have a clarity. If we have a combination of letters and digits and underscores can be used for the variable name, but start with letter is better. Underscore is already an option that is used by the library functions. For sure you cannot start with the digits. Okay, so this is the the first rule that you have to remember. Next thing, ANSI standard recognize only first 31 characters, means like variable length. How many characters that you can actually create for the variable name. So there is a even limit for that. As per the ANSI standards, first 31 characters of your given a long name can be considered. Means like after 31 characters, anything that extra that you might write would be ignored. There is one more standard called a C99. In C99 standard, at least 63 characters for significant that can be considered as a valid naming. These are the based out of the compiler that you use ANSI or C99. You still can think of like how many max length of variable can be allowed. There is a reason for actually choosing that, but you will be knowing when you do the practice. Variable names cannot contain white spaces or the special characters. Make a note of it. You can't actually create a white space. A white space means like something like this, characters for significant, and then giving a space like this. This is not allowed because this is like a 3 letters. And then make sure you should not use a special characters like this exclamatory and ash percentage, things like that. You should not be use them as a variable names. A reserved words are the keywords like a int, float, character, while, do. There is a bunch of keywords that the C supports. Those are the key C standard keywords. You cannot use them as a variable names because this is already reserved for certain purpose. That's an idea. So if you know that like what are the keywords that C supports, then you can just exclude them while you're creating a variable name. Okay, variable names are case sensitive. In C language, case sensitive means like uppercase and lowercase are significant. Okay, even though it sounds like a same spell, but lower and uppercase difference can be distinguish your variable names. These are the standard rules that we have to use for naming the variables. Following these rules will help you avoid errors and make your code more readable. I hope it is clear. Case sensitivity. So what we see is variable names are case sensitivity. What that means? Let's look at these two names. I my number, I my number. So what is the difference here? Only the n caps here uppercase, here lowercase. Sounds to me like I spelled out same. I my number, I my number. However, both actually have a different case, right? So these two variables are treated as a different variable names. So for example, if you look at this program, what I seen is that I have variable name called I my number, and then assign value to it, and then I started printing address and then value of the variable for both cases. If I can compile this code, you know if there is no error, then it would actually successfully compile and then produce an output. This is what I'm getting. So if you see that this first one is like an address for the first variable, and then second one, this one is like a address for the second variable. So both you look at like there is a difference in it, and hence these two variables are recognized as a distinct variables and assign a memory location to it. Clear? So that's why in C every variable name is a case sensitive. Make sure you have to use same name throughout your program, otherwise you end up not knowing like where things go wrong. Allowed characters. What are the characters that allowed for variable name? What we have seen is that variable names can include letters like a both uppercase and lowercase, digits and underscore. That's what you have seen. If you look at this one, I my num1, I my num2, underscore I my num3, and then you are assigning the values to it. So if you compile this code, I should be able to see output like this. This is expected. So what is a takeaway here is that variable name can be a combination of uppercase and lowercase and digits. That is what I think. I'm just using them. I could also use like an underscore. But what is a best practice that we talk about is C library is also using like an underscore variable names, and hence better you avoid as in a user defined variable names, so that like it is precisely you can say that like C library variables can be distinguished by underscore, and then you will be using like without underscore as a starting character. You can recall one thing that we studied in the consolidation of general rules. No special characters are allowed for creating a variable names. If you try write a sample program and then compile by using a special character like an hash symbol as a starting in the variable name, you know you will not be able to compile the code, because compiler is not going to recognize and it's not going to let you compile the entire program. The reason behind is like this special character is not allowed as part of your variable name. That's one thing that you have to remember, because there is a significant for that, right? So if you look at hash include, right, these are the directive includes are recognized by hash symbol, and hence special characters something like this is not allowed for your variable name. Okay, so you have to remember these two. You remember we also spoke about like a starting character cannot start with the digits, can be like letters uppercase, lowercase and underscore, but not digits. So if you try create a variable name start with like integer, and then try compile the code, what happens is like compiler throws an error. Okay, it is not let you compile the code at all. So the error is basically tells like this is like not allowed. Okay, this example illustrates to support this rule. It cannot start with digit. Keyword restrictions. In C language, keywords like int, float, return, if, while, for, all these are actually like C standard given keywords, right? And there is a significant meaning for each keyword defined by the C language, and hence we are not allowed to use those as a variable names. For instance, if you can look at here, int and variable name int equal to 150. So because of case sensitive, a keyword is like a small letter int int, but if I use like an uppercase here int, it is acted as a the variable name, but this is not as same as like a int, and hence I can compile this code. But the catch here is, if I would use like a same spell like in a small lowercase int as a variable name, then compiler catch you and then tells you as an error message stating that like this is not a valid token. Okay, what this implied meaning is like you are not allowed to use any C language keywords as a variable names. This is the one more important rule that you have to remember. Length of the variable name. While there is no strict limit to the length of the variable name in C language, it is advisable to keep them concise and meaningful. So what this means, like creating a long names is kind of like a cumbersome, it is not readable and then manageable too. That's an idea. But if you look at this, ANSI and then C99 standards, there is character limit for variable length. Let's for example, ANSI standard recognizes only first 31 characters. Even though if you give like a long names, it considers first 31 characters as a variable name. Okay, in C99 standard, at least 63 characters are recognized as a variable name. That is there. So what I was trying to reiterate here is that in generally while writing a sample programs, you can use a variable name like an ijk, int I, int j, float f, like that. However, in the real time scenario, it's always preferable to give like a meaningful name to the variable so that you will recognize them in a way. So if you just given a fun example, int my name is what I am saying yesterday. This is not really a meaningful phrase, but what it gives me like some sort of a sense that like I can use any way if you would like to name the variable, that this is whole thing is called as a variable name of type int, and which is actually used to store the value 999. If you can compile this code and print this variable value of the variable name, then I get like a 999, which is what we stored in line number 7. Okay, that's an idea. Does it make sense? You can have length of the variable name, there is no real restriction except the two standards what it talks about. Based out of that, you can always like choose what is that actually meaningful name that you are going to give it to your variable in your context of problem in C programming. Naming conventions are very important. So it is a common practice to use a meaningful names that reflects the purpose of variable. For example, a student ID is better than SID for readability, because the minute that you read the variable name, it makes sense for you. Oh yeah, this is a student ID number that we are going to store using this variable name. If I use like in a very jargon like an SID, I don't know what is meant by SID, right? So what this is going to store, so it is creates a kind of like confusion. Otherwise you have to make like so much of like notes to understand what this variable meaning is. So rather what you would do is like give a proper name, and if it does make sense for your readability point of view, always I encourage you to do give a proper names to the variable. Okay, so naming conventions are very essential for code readability. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, click on bell icon and leave the comments. Happy learning. Thank you. Stay tuned to upcoming sessions.